All right. So the reason that we changed meeting links is this one is owned by me, and so I can actually share the recordings. Hopefully they'll show up on YouTube now. All right, first up on the agenda is Yuval. Next steps in tracing. I see you have a doc. Would you mind sharing your screen?
Sure. Okay, so hopefully you can see the screen.
Looks good.
Okay, so first, a quick recap of what do we have in tracing already. So already in Squid. Front-end request tracing on the RGW. So everything that is coming to the RGW creates a trace. We have OSD traces. I'm not 100% sure what exactly is being traced in the OSD, but things are traced in the OSD. We have Jaeger orchestration via Ceph ADM. So you can connect to an existing Jaeger setup, or you can spin your own if you use Ceph ADM to create the Ceph cluster, and all the connectivity is configured automatically, and so on and so forth. If you want something which is a non-standard setup, or if you have an existing Jaeger setup, then you just configure. So you connect to it. So you don't configure, you don't spin it via Ceph ADM. But if you do want to do that, you can do that. Some other things that we have in tracing, we have multi-part upload tracing. And this is useful for the case that multi-part is done across multiple RGWs. And it could be that different parts are failing, or one of the RGW aborted the multi-part upload, and figuring that out through logs is difficult because it is spread across multiple RGWs, and tracing is really a useful mechanism. So you see one trace with all the steps across all RGWs that did their multi-part upload. We also have end-to-end tracing. That was a big effort done for Squid because it required changes to the messages, to the radius messages between the RGW and the OSD. But now you can trace the put operation from the RGW to the actual Redis objects on the OSD. Again, I'm not sure exactly what steps are traced inside the OSD, but you can see one trace with the entire operation from the RGW to the OSD. And we also have conditional tracing on the RGW using Lua scripting. So you can turn tracing on, but you can mark that tracing is actually done only for special, whatever condition that you want that is available in Lua. This could be based on the bucket name, based on the object name, based on the type of operation, based on the user, like whatever, all conditions that are available to Lua, you can set. You have an action in Lua that you can set tracing to be on or off. So that's what we currently have. There's work in progress. One thing which is work in progress is the blocking cleanup. So Adam took on that, and I need to refresh the link here because he created a new PR. This doesn't really add any new functionality to tracing. It just removes lots of code that is not used anymore, or not used at all. I mean, I don't think it ever been actually used.
It does get a couple RGW traces. It does do that.
Sorry, again?
Omri did add a couple RGW traces to it.
Okay, so this is great. I mean, hopefully this is split to maybe different commits. So the cleanup work and the actual additional functionality is I mean, it could be the same PR, of course. And there is another work in, I mean, it's not really in progress. It's pretty stale, but the bucket index tracing. So we try to identify areas in the code that could benefit from tracing, except the regular kind of front-end messages. And bucket index log in multi-site was identified as something that could be useful, but this was not finished. This is, again, work that started but never finished. Now, trying to look at what else needs to be done with tracing. So one thing is currently the end-to-end tracing is only for put objects, but that should be extended to other operation, ideally to all operations. Finishing, of course, the bucket index log tracing, but there could be other multi-site trace points that we're going to add. Again, the tracing has huge value when something is happening on multiple processes, and this is what multi-site is really all about. Because otherwise, grabbing logs and trying to synchronize them is very difficult. We need to have detailed documentation on exactly what is being traced and what kind of information we put in the traces. I think Adam did some kind of also kind of cleanup and more standardization with when do we start a new span and when do we just add more information to the trace.
Yes.
So that's of course is very important. I mean, and also probably need to be kind of reviewed whenever we do that. So of course, when we move the trace from the RGW to the OSD, of course, this should be a new span. But inside the RGW or inside the OSD, we need to be careful on deciding when moving from one function to another create a new span, and when this is just maybe adding some more information. The current naming of the traces are geared towards developers, which means that at least on the OSD, on the RGW, I try to fight that, but at least on the OSD, the traces has pretty much function names which are completely meaningless for any end user that is looking into them. For the purpose of trying to identify bottlenecks, maybe function names have more meaning, but I argue that even for the case that you want to identify bottlenecks, meaningful names are better than function names. Because usually we don't trace at the resolution of a function, we trace at the resolution of some operation, and a meaningful name for the operation, I think, has more value. So I think this is something we should change, at least on the OSD and maybe also on the RGW if we use function names as traced as names of traces. Another future step is to add orchestration via Rook. First step could be just to add documentation, but ideally we also add that to the Rook operator so that if you actually want to spin the Jaeger pods in a Kubernetes or OpenShift deployment, then you can do that automatically and all the configuration will be correct and synchronized between the different parts. But at least document that well in Rook on how to do that would be very useful. NFS Ganesha end-to-end tracing could be very useful as well. Other end-to-end tracing like RBD and CFFS. What we added to the protocol with the RGW, I guess, could be used for other places as well. So the fact that we changed the message structure, which was very difficult, I think more Ceph clients could benefit from. And the last point here is the Jaeger v2, where actually even the Jaeger project is going to retire the Jaeger protocol and just use the open telemetry protocol. But I put that here at the end for a reason. Like the teams working on Jaeger and open telemetry, they like to change stuff very often, but things takes time to settle down. So I wouldn't try to chase their changes as they make them. I would usually wait at least a year before I go on and try to make the changes, because again, they change their mind quite often.
I would agree with this, except with one caveat. Mostly that we're on a fairly old version of OpenTelemetry right at the moment. And we do need to move away from, and since the Jaeger exporter has been removed from the new one, I do think we need to look into moving away from it with a little bit more urgency than that, just so that we have the option to pull up our sub-module at some point.
So, I mean, yeah, I'm not sure what kind of issues do they have in the existing. Okay, so if they did something like got rid of the shared pointer, then that's a very good reason to move to a new version. If they added all kind of stuff that we're not using anyways, like so they want OpenTelemetry to be the protocol for everything, not just for tracing. We want that to be the protocol for stats and for logs. I don't see us moving there very quickly. So if the reason for a new version of OpenTelemetry is that we can support using stats and logs there, then I think that would be less urgent. If there are bug fixes, or if they really did some refactoring, got rid of some nasty APIs that they have, then I would say that we should move there. And the last thing which I want to say here, which is non-development, I think is as critical as the future development, because tracing is not a kind of a one person or one group's project. If we want to make this analogy, the analogy to debug logs, we can't have one group writing debug logs for the entire Ceph project. Everybody can do that. Now, traces are more costly than debug log and should be handled with more care. But overall, people should add traces where they're needed. So for that to happen, we need to promote the feature more and educate the team more. So there is one existing talk. It doesn't really go in depth about tracing. Sorry, again?
Can I ask one question about that?
Sure.
Did you say that tracing is more expensive than debug logs?
Well, I guess it's not. It is. Well, it depends on which level, right? Because if we turn on debug logs only for errors, then we're going to get a fairly small amount of impact, right? But traces, their nature is not to just trace errors. Their nature is to trace everything. So creating a trace and sending it over is less costly because it doesn't require any writing to disk, right? It just go over the wire over UDP or something.
So you're not comparing something like doing the exact same thing with a tracer.
No.
Compared to doing with debug log at level 20 or something.
No, what I'm saying, what I'm saying in a system where usually we put debug log at 0 or 1 level 0 or 1, if we turn on tracing, it might have more impact. But you're right. Overall, the actual action of tracing is less costly than the debug log. So regarding the non-development part, so I have one talk. It doesn't go in depth into tracing, just showing some fancy use case of how tracing could be used for sustainability cases. But there is a plan, I think, Deepika and I submitted a talk for Ceph.con to talk about tracing. And I think even more important is the third point here, which is to have a recorded code walkthrough. So if I'm a developer in RBD or something and I want to add a trace and I want to see how it's done or how it should be done, then I should have some kind of a reference explaining how the coding of tracing should be done. So that's my kind of take on where tracing should go, and I would love to get feedback.
I think the points you highlighted are very, I think, on point. The only thing I think that I'm missing more context on is the performance of tracing, and is Lua able to manage the kind of performance impact we were seeing when we were adding lots of traces to RGW side of things, and then trying to evaluate the performance impact on Ceph in general. And there was a considerable overhead, so we had to limit the number of traces. So how can a developer or somebody just getting started identify that, okay, the performance impact, we have to consider that, and is Lua an alternative to kind of bypass that and add more, and then like turn off the not needed traces?
Yeah, so we did some thorough testing of the cost of tracing. By the way, I don't think it's very high. I mean, but it could be a couple of percent, so it is noticeable. So I think as Adam said, I mean, if you compare that to turning level 20 of debug logs, it is way cheaper than that. Now, dynamic turning on and off of tracing via Lua. Again, Lua is I won't say a new feature, but it isn't thoroughly tested for performance. So I'm not sure what's going to be the actual cost of running Lua. Again, it depends how complex your condition is, right? Lua is a programming language, and you can write as complex functions or whatever in Lua as you like. If you write something pretty simple that just compares the type of operation or maybe the bucket name, then I think we should do the proof testing, but it should be pretty. It should probably have a small impact. So, for example, if you have a very loaded system, but you just want to see traces for one bucket, and this bucket only account for, I don't know, 5% of the traffic, and you do that via the conditional tracing in Lua, then, you know, if you assume that overall tracing, I don't remember how much, but let's say if overall tracing is something like 10%, then I would assume that you would see pretty much something like 5% out of the 10%. So only fractions of percent of impact in this case. But we haven't tested it. So, and I don't really know what is the overhead of the Lua itself. So I probably need to add that to the plan.
Makes sense. And is this documented or like process to use Lua scripting with tracing?
Yes, it is documented in the Lua documentation.
I see. Okay, thanks.
I can yeah, I'll probably add that here as well. Just the link to this, how it's done in Lua.
Right.
Yeah. So again, what I'm mainly pitching for here is that if people are interested in tracing in Ceph, and they want to to contribute to the feature or to work on the feature, or to help that getting forward, then if you have something specific in mind, then please share that, and we can discuss that. If you like one of the points here and you want to work on that and promote that, then this is also great. Or if you just want to do some non-development work in promoting the feature, whether this is like a code walkthrough or some, what you just said, like this test or this checking of cost of conditional tracing via Lua. I mean, this could be a very interesting demo showing how to do that and what the benefit from it and so on. So that could be also something very interesting in the non-development part.
Casey wants to
Yes.
speak something.
Yeah, just an idea for the non-development section. Code walkthrough sounds like a good idea, but I think it might also help to create a document that kind of outlines a policy for consistent tracing, similar to how we have the coding style guide to avoid kind of bike shedding in review. So if we were able to document kind of a policy, I think that could help a lot. Maybe code walkthrough or discussions could help inform what that policy should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks.
Can help with the Rook side of things for now, and maybe the non-development and some of the OST side. Then maybe checking further. Yeah, I can help contribute there, and as a start point, and then we can see.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, for example, if you want to do some kind of a demonstration or a blog post, let's say on the conditional tracing, I mean, we can work on that together, and that would be awesome.
Sure, sounds good. Yep.
Had a couple other thoughts. One was on multi-site. If we're essentially expecting these traces to span multiple Ceph clusters, right? So I assume that both clusters would have to talk to the same Jaeger instance. Is that correct?
Well, not exactly. They have, again, I'm talking with something that I checked maybe a year and a half ago, and this is really a moving target. But they had something like they're using like a Kafka backend to route messages. Like they have a use case where there is one centralized place where all the data is stored, but there are multiple Jaeger collectors because the system is distributed, and all the collectors are sending something to Kafka, and Kafka is sending that to the central point. So they also have a setup. They suggested like a setup where things are more distributed. So we can say, again, it really depends how people are deploying all the Jaeger stuff. But I mean, in theory, we can recommend at least or document saying that if you have multi-site, it makes more sense maybe to have a collector per site, and then they're all sending the information to one centralized point.
Sounds great. And my last point was just about the Jaeger v2. The main concern that I have there is that it might change our message format. And so we would have to take a lot of care to do that with the release bit.
So I think, I need to check, but I think that rewrote the serializer and deserializer for the messages. So I mean, okay, so I'll distinguish between two things. They want to change the entire protocol where the SDK is sending to the collector, but we assume that we're going to upgrade the collectors to the new version or something, because otherwise that won't work at all. So that's one thing. There's another thing is how to serialize this and deserialize the trace that we put inside the Redis message. And I think that we rewrote the serializer and deserializer. So even if they changed the memory structure that they're using, we'll have to kind of rewrite the serializer, but hopefully we create the same serialized trace. So I think it's in our control to do that.
Okay, as I recall, in the messenger, we were serializing like the span context thing, which was just 2 or 3 integers. And hopefully if that stays the same, then we don't have to change anything.
Yeah, but I mean, because we're actually doing the serialization and deserialization, then we can control it. If they change something, we'll have to make sure that we don't break our protocol. Like our code would change and match that. I think that, there could be a couple of places where we created a dependency, but I think you even gave a comment with regards to sizes and stuff like that, not to use the header files, but kind of use our own. So if something is broken, it just doesn't compile or something. So I think we had that in mind, but that's a great point that we'll have to make sure that nothing is broken there.
Cool, and we should have plenty of time during the T release cycle to figure that out, and just plan to, if we do need to make changes there, try to get started early enough that it can make the T release.
Yeah. I mean, I will try. I think we should try really hard not to make changes, because it was extremely painful last time. So we should try to avoid that, even if we decide to upgrade the SDK. Which again, we need reasons to do that. I'm not sure we should.
Also, what unique identifier we are using? Are we using the request ID from the S3 for the end-to-end kind of tracing?
I think so. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that we're using, something like request ID, and maybe we add some stuff to it. I don't remember. I need to look at the code. But ideally, this should be like, one of the tasks is to document that better. Currently, the contention just saying we're using Jaeger for tracing or something like that, and we don't give the details. And I think all of that should be in the details.
Yeah, maybe some blog post or some documentation.
Oh, this should even go into the formal docs. I think this is information. I mean, this is user-facing information, like what fields, there's something called events, which is the data you put in there, like what data we put there, what is the key, like all those things are user-facing, so they should be documented.
Makes sense. Yeah. Maybe we can add that to the doc.
Yes.
Maybe a bit later we can ask for feedback from the community, parts of traces they would be interested in.
Yeah, so my plan is, like, once we have this initial discussion here, is to send an email to the community and put a link and ask for more feedback from other people. Also, non-developers, like people are interested in some traces, or they want to identify bottlenecks, or they want to be able to debug complex distributed cases, and they let's hear what they have to say.
Makes sense.
That's all I had to say here about tracing. I really appreciate the feedback that I got from you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Yuval.
All right. Thanks a lot, Yuval, and thanks, Deepika, for joining. Next up on the agenda is from Oguzhan.
Yeah, hi. Let me also share my desktop. It says Google Chrome might not have share recording permission on your computer. Anyways, yeah, maybe, yeah, let me send the link to chat. It's a gist, so people can take a look there. Let me also add it to the weekly document quickly. So basically, yeah, this is about like account is a new feature added to Static Squid. This is more about one of the resources, how we are gonna move that resource under account, which is a notification topic. So in the gist I sent at the top, there's a link to the official document, which introduces the user accounts, like that concept.
Sorry.
Yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
I think you pasted the wrong link.
Oh, I pasted to yours. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I was looking at that. It was open. Yeah, I think now the correct one. So there's a section there, migrate an existing user into an account, and that explains how we can like migrate an existing RGW user to an RGW account. Yeah, thank you for sharing it. So in that document, there's a warning like box that says regarding notification topics, which I quoted in this just as well at the top. The last sentence says topics and their associated bucket notifications should be removed before like account migration and then recreated afterwards. So in the next section, titled suggested migration steps would be, so based on the official documentation, what we can do is at first, like user, the client has to remove the subscriptions from the buckets and then removes the topics the user created. And then later at the step 3, storage admin like us come into the picture and move the user into an account and then let the user know that they're now an accounted user and they go and recreate those topics and associate their buckets with this new topic. So problems with this approach is like from the start to the end, the client will not be able to get any notifications. So there's going to be a notification downtime, and it requires close collaboration with the client directly, which means they're not going to be oblivious to moving into an account. So looking into the implementation of topic, I think it enables a much less intrusive approach, which is like at the section that titled a slightly different approach, which involves more help from storage admin. So I'll go through the drawing at the bottom, but first, like what would be the steps? So first, again, user continues to use their existing notification subscriptions, and under the hood, without even like minimal notification to the client saying that we can move the user into an account. So at that point, user can sense it. Why? Because they are going to lose API access to those topics. They are not going to be able to see their existing topics. So at that, but they can, the notifications will be still active, like the functioning. If, for example, they put an object to a bucket, if they registered for that notification, they can get it. Before removing that topic, they can recreate the topic with the same name. So the existing implementation enables the new topic under an account and the old topic under a user coexist. Because they are going to be two different Rados objects. I'll give an example when going over the drawing. And then user subscribe to the new topic. Since they can coexist, the old topic will still deliver the notifications, and the new topic for the newly subscribed buckets, they can also deliver the notifications to the user. Eventually, when the old topic is not used anymore, there's no subscriptions left. Either at that point we can just storage admin, because user cannot see it, the old topics anymore. We can go ahead and use Rados gateway admin topic remove command to remove the old topic, which I believe offers some like a less like with minimal downtime and minimal involvement from the user. So just to go over the example I tested, actually there's the color coding is a little mixed up, but there's supposed to be 4 colors here, like gray, black, green, and blue. So at the beginning, the gray one, we only have user 1 and user 2. Each user has 1 bucket, U1B1 for user 1, U2B1 for user 2. And ownership is as usual, like user owns the bucket. And let's say user 1 created a topic, like topic 1. And at the top of that rectangle, you see the IRN. So there's no user information there. And given the permission, like necessary topic policy, user 2 can also subscribe to that bucket, like associate with that topic. Like U2B1 can associate with topic 1 basically to get notifications through topic 1. And if you look at the black coloring, so as a step 2, as admins, we move the user to an account. So at that point, U1B1 is now owned by like account, but the topic ownership is not moved to an account. So topic 1 is still owned by user 1. However, the good thing is topic 1 is still functional. So notifications are still delivered. But the only caveat is user 1 loses API visibility to that topic, so they cannot remove it or make any changes. So at the green line, we ask like user to create the topic with the same name. Let's call it topic 1 bar. So as you see the IRN, now it has the account information, like it's account 1, like topic 1. Since they are 2 separate Rados objects, they can coexist and they can be functional at the same time. And topic 1 bar is now owned by the account, not the user. And finally, all the other users, either accounted or not, can resubscribe their buckets, for example, U1B1 or U2B1, to the new accounted topic. So in the transition, there's not going to be any duplicate notifications. Both topics will be functional. And eventually, when the old buckets resubscribe to topic 1 bar, the accounted topic, we can get rid of topic 1 using Rados gateway admin command. That, like this drawing basically summarizes those 5 steps above. So the questions would be, the one question would be, like since how we implement topics as 2 separate Rados objects, and topics are referenced as bucket attributes, which enables this more seamless like topic migration. Like looking at the, like can we like make it more flexible? Like in the official documentation, it says topics and their associated bucket notifications should be removed before migration, which can be more flexible now. So does it make sense to like change that statement? And the second thing is this design is or this implementation wasn't done with the intention of having the seamless like topic migration. I believe for other reasons it was done, like I would say more accidental than intentional. So by having like making that statement more flexible will also like let us not break this new approach. That's going to be more seamless. So yeah, that would be like the main question is like, can we update the official documentation to have the seamless approach so that so we can test it down the road and we make sure it's not broken, and it can be used for users migrating into account to migrate their topics as well more seamlessly without any notification downtime.
So I have one question here. How do you prevent from both topics sending notifications twice? Like, because both are going to coexist. You don't know who is subscribed to that on the other end, right? On the Kafka end, who knows? And you're gonna send out two, I think.
So yeah, I was thinking about the same, but the thing is, when you look at, for example, when you list a topic, let's say topic 1, there's a list of subscribe buckets, right? So when you first create topic 1 bar, the accounted topic, when you list the topic, there's not going to be any subscription. Like it's going to be an empty set of buckets. So user has
Why?
to go.
Because
Yeah.
I mean, you used to have a set of buckets, right? Subscribe to a topic, and you change the user, but why should that modify anything with the existing notification configuration?
Yeah, it's not changing because it's a bucket attribute. So given a bucket, there is this notifications attribute. In that attribute, it references to Rados object. In this case, topic 1. For example, U1, B1 will be referencing to topic 1. So then we create topic, like when we migrate the user to an account, that attribute is not changing.
Oh, I see. Okay, I get it. Okay.
So that's why it is still pointing at the topic 1 Rados object.
Right.
And then user next, after creating account topic, has to go explicitly say, okay, I want to subscribe U1, B1 to my account topic. Like it has to send another API call to change that attribute. And also, if you in this step 4, I mentioned that like user has to use the same notification ID. For example, when we change the notification configuration, we give a notification ID. So the user has to use the same notification ID, but the new IRN with the account name in it, so that U1, B1 in the bucket attribute will be referencing to the new Rados object like topic 1 bar instead of topic 1. So there's not going to be any duplicate notification going on, and topic 1 will serve its own subscribe buckets. Topic 1 bar will serve its own subscribe buckets.
Right. Yeah, so that looks to me like a valid approach. I mean, I agree we must add a test for that, I guess, as part of the test suite to make sure that it works, and even more important, that it doesn't break in the future. But I'm okay with adding that to the documentation, saying this is a way to do seamless. No, not seamless because it requires lots of manual work, but I mean non-interrupting approach for migrating users with topic simplifications.
Yeah, that makes sense. Having a test would, also will let us know it's not broken down the road as well. Yeah.
Right. So I think, I mean, I think it's great because you're actually solving the problem without requiring any code changes or anything. But we do need a test, and we probably need to make sure that everything is V2 because otherwise it won't work, right? So when people are moving to, let's say they have an existing pre-Squid cluster and they're upgrading to Squid, so they're going to have accounts, they need to make sure that they upgraded all the topics to the V2 topics before they do this with the accounts, because that won't work with the old data structures.
I think that might already be covered because we don't let account users create topics until migration finishes. That's my recollection.
Yes, exactly. Actually, at the top of that, there is a prerequisite section. yeah, to be able to use like accounted topics, like the notification version to migration has already been done. Otherwise, you're not able to create a topic under an account.
Okay. Okay, I see. Yeah.
So that migration, like version 1 to version 2 topic notification migration, has to take place prior to account migration, basically. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But yes, to your point, like Krunal is currently only, but yeah, he was working on some like code changes to make this migration. But later when we test it, we see, okay, there's no need for any code changes, like the existing design, how we create topics as separate Rados objects and how they are referenced within bucket attributes already enables a more seamless approach with minimal downtime. So yeah.
Yeah, this sounds wonderful to me. I would really like to have the documentation ready for the first Squid release. So we're kind of running out of time here, but if we can move quickly, then that would be wonderful. Do we know like where in the docs we want to outline this process? And then we would also want to update the pending release note.
So currently that warning is at the like user accounts page, like the one that's linked at the top of that gist. So maybe, yeah, if you click on that, there's a migrate existing user into an account. There's a warning there that says topics and their associated bucket notification should be removed before migration. Like we can like relax, maybe as a note instead of warning.
Well, but it would be good to actually detail your suggested process. I think this won't really fit in here because this would be like longer than this entire page. Probably maybe instead of the warning, put a note and say if you have topics, notifications, then this is the process you should follow, and maybe put that somewhere else. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that makes more sense as a link to another. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, could be a new page.
So for the testing portion, I can work on that, like writing a test, like the steps that I went over. For the documentation change, maybe case I will let you do it, or I can take a stab at it as well. So
yeah, if you want to do a first draft, then I'm happy to review and give feedback.
Sounds good. Yeah.
We can get the docs team involved too.
Yeah, usually they kind of chime in on the PR, and they fix my English and stuff like that. So I just put something that is as correct as I can, and then they make all the corrections, so the condition is better.
Okay, so the docs part sounds easy, but test coverage sounds a little more involved. Yuval, do you have any idea where that would live, or?
Yeah, so I mean, we already have we have migration testing, and
there is this notification integration testing under like test source RGW. So would it leave there?
Yeah, because I mean, we have all the infrastructure there for. I mean, what you would need here is, of course, to do all the topics and all that stuff, and you would need to run some Redis Gateway admin commands to create the account and move the user to the account, all that stuff. So, and we have infrastructure for that pretty much. So, I mean, just add another test there to the whole bunch of tests that we have, and I'll be happy to assist if you need help or something.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, wonderful. So I guess I would just ask that if you could try to open a PR with an early draft as soon as possible. Maybe Yuval and I can assist in kind of completing it.
Oh yeah, I'll try to finish it up today or tomorrow at the latest. Yeah.
Great.
Okay, sounds good.
In terms of timelines for Squid, I know that we're very close to releasing the next RC. And so I do think we still have time before the final release to get this in. This is great. Thank you. Any other thoughts on it? Any final topics for the agenda? All right, great. Let's call it here. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.